Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Simon Rattle's Big Berlin Box of Musical Mediocrity. What excitement. Yeah. But before we get to that, I do have to make a little announcement. In my video about the Alexandre Tarot Ravel piano concertos, I pointed out the missing bar at the end of the left-hand concerto, which sounded very, very peculiar. And one of you pointed out that this performance with François Xavier Roth and Cédric Tiberghien also does the same thing. And that, of course, got me going because it's just fascinating. So I gather it wasn't an editing problem. They're using some wonky version of the score. Now, to find out what wonky version, because none of them tell us, this doesn't tell us, and that other recording doesn't tell us, I need to do a little research, and I'm working on it. There is a new critical edition of the left-hand concerto, an Urtext edition, coming from Barenreuter, which I've basically got ordered. So I'm going to take a look at it. But I did do some checking just to see what I was doing. And it's, the 4-bar version, the normal version that we all know and love, does date from Ravel's own time. We know that. It also is consistent with Ravel's own arrangement for 2 pianos. So, however, because it was written for Paul Wittgenstein, apparently there was another score that was sent to Germany and copied by various people, and it wasn't published till much later. So there's all of this bullshit that musicologists can sink their fangs on to create alternate versions. Who knows? The left-hand concerto might turn out to be the Bruckner Symphony of the French repertoire. So we're gonna look into it. And I just want you to know that's coming down the pike when I actually figure out what's going on. Fascinatingly, this version, which is completely tepid and uninteresting, by the way, in case you were wondering, also has a discussion from someone who's in charge of the Ravel Critical Edition about all the various scores and all that. Does not mention the difference. Talks about different wrong notes and things that Wittgenstein did and all kinds of other things, but doesn't mention perhaps the most salient thing, which is different actual musical text, like bars. So who knows? Anyway, we're going to get to the bottom of it, and we will all be much the wiser. So, with that said, let us now turn to Simon Rattle's Berlin Box of Musical Mediocrity. We call it magical musical mediocrity. I don't know. All I know is that there's a lot of mediocrity in here, and a couple of really good things. There are some fine things here. There really are. So, let's just go through it and enjoy our usual, well, it's 45 CDs. Who knows that he made that stuff? And I want to say something like 90% of this or more, I reviewed, or one of us reviewed, one of the guys and gals at ClassicsToday.com reviewed this stuff. So you can find these titles individually if you do just a simple search on Rattle in Berlin, and you can get very nice detailed reviews, some for insiders with musical samples, and get a much deeper grasp than I can offer in just a simple video. But as I said, there are 45 of these suckers, and oh dear, what can the matter be? Anyway, we'll see. The Berlin years. Yes, there were a lot of Berlin years. I mean, the dates on this thing, wait a minute, they give you the dates. The dates are, well, they actually gave us the dates. It's about 18 years that he was there. Yeah, it's sort of hard to believe. Where was it? Wait a minute. Now I'm getting annoyed because I know I saw the actual number of years there. The Berlin years. Let's see. Tell me about Rattle, Karian would demand. The consonants of the Wunderkind's name sounded like a roll on a snare drum. Oh, I'm not going to be able to read this. Oh, my God. It's horrifying. So anyway, I know that they had it on here somewhere, and I don't understand why I don't see it now. Oh, wait a minute. It's got to be here. Is it up here? Yes. 2002 to 2018. 16 years. My, they just flew by, didn't they? Yeah, 16 dismal years. All right, so there we go. And here we are. We begin with an unbelievably boring recording of Liszt's Faust Symphony. Yuck. It was a real snooze fest. Mahler 10, excellent. Mahler 10 is a piece that, Ravel, Rattle, was talking about Ravel, that Simon Rattle always got. His original recording with Bournemouth, it was before he even went to Birmingham, was quite good, and this is excellent. It's just a beautiful, shapely performance of the basic Cook version. Really one of the best ones out there. So no problem there. Then we've got the Gura Leader. Oh, this was not good. This was with Karina Matala, Anne-Sophie von Otter, Thomas Moser, Philip Langridge, Thomas Kvostoff. Really a very, very nice cast for a rather droopy and uninteresting Gura Leader. And let's see, what's that? Mahler 5. All right, now this was like one of the first things that came out, I believe, when Rattle actually took over. These earlier things were when he was in the process of taking over. And it's better than his Birmingham Mahler 5, let's put it that way. It's still, the interpretation itself is quite good. The sonics are lousy. And that's something that really undermines the conception of it. I think this could have been potentially a very fine Mahler 5 if it sounded better, but it doesn't. And so it's good. It's good. I give it props for being what it is. Fidelia. Oh, this is awful. Absolutely awful. It's with Angela Danoka, who's like the worst Leonora you've ever heard in your life. She's not very good. And John Villers, who has a voice that's too small for the role of Florestan. And the other people are okay. You've got Marcelina as Juliana Banza. She's a very, very fine singer. She does all that early music stuff. And Don Fernando as Thomas Kvostoff. And, they're okay. And the performance itself is light and fluffy. It's like, it's as if the first act never ends when you get to the second act. It's more of the same, which is actually a problem because you want the second act to be as contrasty as possible to the first. But it's the singers that let it down. Rattle's conception is kind of irrelevant under those circumstances. And so that's that. Now let's get some more of this stuff out here. Messiaen, Eclairs and La-di-da. Éclairs, l'au-delà, Illuminations of the Beyond. I was at the premiere. I saw the premiere. I was blessed with the opportunity to see the premiere. Really a lovely work, beautiful, beautiful work. And this is a very good performance, but it's Messiaen. How do you wreck Messiaen? Actually, Berlin Philharmonic did wreck Messiaen with Kent Nagano. Remember their awful Tarangallela, which seems to have quietly disappeared without a trace, hopefully forever. Well, this is just fine, because Messiaen requires nothing but accuracy. Nothing more, nothing less. There is nothing to interpret in Messiaen, and it is completely dogmatically mechanical, actually. I love it, don't get me wrong, but that's what it is. You just play what it is, and you get little chunks of things and birds and whatnot, and it goes round and round in circles, and that's it. And it does, so you're in good shape. Then we've got Carmina Burana. Does anyone need this? Goodness gracious. No, nobody needs it, but it's a very good Carmina Burana. It really is. It's quick, and it's very well sung. Sally Matthews is not the best soprano, but Lawrence Brownlee's okay, and Christian Gerhardt is fabulous, the baritone solos, and it's much better than Ozawa's with the same orchestra. So yeah, okay, if you want a Carmina Burana, I have no argument. Now we get to the juicy bits. One of the best things Rattle did in Berlin, Dvorak tone poems. The big ones. You get the Noonday Witch, the Water Goblin, the Golden Spinning Wheel, and the Wood Dove. Do we really need to have them on 2 CDs? I wonder if you could have. 48 and 35 is well, okay, so it's 80 something. It's a little bit much. They should have done some more like Dvorak tone poem or overture things. These are splendid performances. It really sounds like for once, one time, everyone's having a good time. One of the problems with Rattle in Berlin is they're all so damn earnest. They're all trying to impress us with their profundity, and it's just not working. The more they try to do, the worse it sounds, it seems. But here, they just set themselves free. They're beautiful performances of lovely, gorgeous, luscious, sunny music. I've played these things. They're fun to play. Everyone is just finally able to relax a little and just make music and not overthink. And the results speak for themselves. Debussy. Oh, this is horrible. La Mer, La Boîte à Joujou, and the three preludes orchestrated by Colin Matthews. Who cares? And the prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun with Emmanuel Pahoud flute. He gets solo billing. God, this is boring. Boring and featureless. La Mer sounds like it has an oil slick on top of it. The waves never manage to crest. Everything is just sort of, I mean, the end of the first movement, oh my God, nothing's happening there. Just awful. Awful, awful, awful. Ian Bostridge sings Britain. What's not to like? He sings Britain very well. Les Illuminations, the Serenade for tenor, horn, and strings, and the Nocturne. All the good stuff that you want. Major song cycles by Britten and by one of the best British singers of that kind of music. So I have no complaints. Richard Strauss, Ein Heldenleben and Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme Suite. Horrible. Horrible. This, oh my God, it's just, Heldenleben is so problematic. And, it's got to be light and parodistic and fun and full of animated textures. And this has none of that. This is just a glutinous mess. It really is. The Bourgeois Gentilhomme is better because it's a chamber orchestra and, it's very stylized. But, you play this and you play like Reiner and Kempe and those people. And you just wonder why they even bothered, or Karajan for that matter. Although Karajan's Heldenleben was never very good either, quite frankly. Schubert 9. Oh, what an abomination. Oh, dismal, horrible performance. God, this is, I just did a video, remember, about conductors who don't understand how to play sonata form movements? Simon Rattle. Simon Rattle is one of the biggest ones of them, I don't know. One of the classic, iconic examples of a conductor who just doesn't get sonata form because he thinks he has to do something. He has to personalize. He has to distract us from the ongoing musical argument rather than getting us to get more involved in the discourse, the drama of the music. Oh, I can't even listen to that. It's grotesque. Let's see. Shostakovich and Prokofiev violin concertos numbers 1 with Sarah Chang. Quite good. I mean, great soloist. She's a wonderful violinist, and Rattle accompanies, without cavil. He just accompanies. He accompanies very well. Another very good recording, Shostakovich 14 with Karita Matala and Thomas Kvastov, but singing in Russian. Yes, thank God. And also the Shostakovich First Symphony. Symphonies 1 and 14. The only thing on the back here is number 14. Oh, here's number 1. Pardon me. It's 2 discs. I'm going crazy. Both very fine performances. The 14th is appropriately dark and gloomy and dismal and gut-wrenching. And the first is light and spunky and full of vigor with a gorgeous slow movement. And it's just really well done. I give them props. Oh, no. Yes, no. The Planets with Pluto. Ugh. That horrible thing that Colin Matthews wrote. This is an atrocious recording of the Planets. Berlin's never made a great one. Karajan's second one was with Berlin. It wasn't so hot either. This is even worse. It's just completely dull. I mean, dull. The thing about these performances is that, the Schubert Ninth is really atrocious. I mean, we're talking incompetently atrocious. But basically, the problem with these performances is just boredom. They're just boring. The Planets is the Planet is a 2 CD thing. I forgot. It has Kaya Sarayaho's Asteroid 4179 Tutatis and Matthias's Pinchers Toward Osiris and Mark Anthony Turnage's Ceres and Brett Dean's Kamarov's Fall and Thomas Addis Tevat. Well, these other things are okay. I mean, as you might expect, they're contemporary. You can't really tell if they're good or bad. Performance-wise, that they're going to be adequate, but the Planets is what it's all about, and it sucks. And the other modern appendages to the Planets, I mean, you may or may not care about them. I don't especially. They're just sniglets, and not even interesting sniglets. Then we have Perfume, the story of a murderer, original motion picture soundtrack. Yeah, okay, it sounds like an original motion picture soundtrack. Brahms, German Requiem with Dorothea Rushman and Thomas Kvastov. Berlin Radio Choir. The best thing about it is the choir. The Berlin Radio Choir is amazing. Simon Halsey is the choir director. The performance itself is, yeah. Bruckner 4. Oh, he keeps trying. I don't know why. What is the point, really? And what is the point? Haydn, Symphonies 88 and 92. These are grotesque. I mean, Rattle in Haydn is another match made in hell. And another example of how he really doesn't understand sonata form at all. Because these are performances that are noteworthy only for his relentlessly mannered and interventionist doodads and Dadaist mannerisms and scruffles and graffiti and just horrible. Nielsen, clarinet and flute concertos and the wind quintet. Excellent performances with Emmanuel Pahud flute, Sabina Meyer clarinet, and the wind quintet composed of people from the New York Berlin Philharmonic, and they play beautifully. It's just fine. And those are lovely works. It was a nice album for him to do. Let me pick these suckers up. So we're not gonna fall all over the place. So we'll start a new. Okay, are they all right? Yes, we'll start a new pile. Yes, I'll finish it up with this. Okay, Mussorgsky, Pictures in an Exhibition, Bourdon Second Symphony. Sucks. Absolutely sucks. I mean, compare this even to Karajan. Actually did pretty good Pictures in an Exhibition. And listen to the difference in the way the orchestra plays. How, the brass have power and the woodwinds have character. And I mean, the strings are always beautiful, but they work with the rest of the orchestra. Under Karajan, here it's just a total non-happening. Mahler 9. Well, he keeps trying. This was the second of his 3, I think, so far recordings of Mahler 9. Did he ever deserve to do a work 3 times that he really blew the first 2 times? No, but the third one was good with Bavarian Radio. That was the charm. That was a very good Mahler 9. These are much less so. And you get the Adagio for strings. They are patchy and they're full of dead spots, and he just doesn't know what's going on there. Stravinsky, Symphony of Psalms, Symphony in C, Symphony in 3 movements, also just atrocious. Terrible, lacking in accent, lacking in color, lacking in punch, sluggish, uninteresting. Oh, everything about them is just enough to make you want to york. Speaking of which, horrid Symphonie Fantastique, the worst march to the scaffold you'll ever hear in your life. L'Amour de Cleopatra with Susan Graham is tolerable, but the symphony, oh, what? Again, it's just really extraordinary that they thought that these things were worthy of release or that these would be interesting to anybody. Ravel, L'Enfant les Sortilèges. Oh, what a lovely work. This was sort of done because he's married to Magdalena Kozhina, and, she gets to sing the part of, l'enfant. So, and she's a good l'enfant. She has a cute little tiny voice. And Ma Mère Loi, which is, it's hard to kill, but, there's so many more magical and interesting performances than these. The Brahms symphonies. Here we have them on 3 juicy CDs. 3 juicy CDs, yes. And they're not terrible. I mean, they aren't terrible, but they also aren't great. There's always something wrong somewhere with 1 or 2 of them. And, the first symphony, it sort of goes well, and the finale could have more pizzazz. The second symphony is nice and flowing, no exposition repeats, which is a good thing. The third is a disaster. He blows the third. Of course he blows the third. It's just incredible. It does not need the Rattle treatment. He feels he needs to do things to it, to save it from itself. What it really needs is to be rescued from his baton. He's a predator when it comes to the Brahms third. Any piece that he feels needs special pleading, he is the last person in the world to do the pleading. I mean, it's just bad. The Complete Nutcracker. Well, it's perfectly fine, but there are a million Complete Nutcrackers out there. This is neither better nor worse than the average. Stick with the, reference recordings. Antal Dorati or Seiji Ozawa or even Gergiev. I mean, on 1 disc. It's very good. Mahler 2. Well, he does these every 15 or 20 minutes. So I've seen him do it live, actually. I saw him do it with Philadelphia. Another dull, uninflected, underplayed performance from an orchestra that theoretically should be able to blow the roof off the piece and simply does not. I wish he would stay away from Mahler. I really do. He's not helping the cause. Schoenberg. Oh, this is fun. The Brahms Piano Quartet #1, orchestrated by Schoenberg, and the accompaniment to a film scene, and Chamber Symphony #1 in the version for full orchestra. This is fun. I like this. This was a not only a good recording, but interesting repertoire selection. So I give him props for doing that and for doing it well. Then the 4-movement version of the Bruckner 9. This is one of the better ones. Now, I detest the completion of the finale. I think it's awful, and I really don't think it adds anything. However, if you're going to do it, Rattle at least has an idea here that works, because he plays the first 3 movements. You would think he underplays them. He does not make them big, huge, grand exordia, because the symphony's not going to end with the adagio. It's going to end with the finale. And so here, it makes sense that it has a finale. I think logically, there's an intelligence, believe it or not, behind this performance. The problem is that the finale sucks, and there's nothing you can do about that. But if you want to hear 4 movements, that makes sense. Oh, he did another complete opera. Yes, I remember this. Carmen. It's another light zip. You know, it's funny. Magdalena Kozina is Carmen. She does not have a Carmen type voice. It's not rich enough. It just isn't. I mean, the cast here, Jonas Kaufmann is Don Jose. He's the really hot thing here. He's quite good. And the Michaela, too, this Genia Kuhmeyer is also quite fine. Lovely singer. The performance itself is with dialogue, and it's very light and very opera comique-ish, but it just doesn't have any of the passion that the opera requires, especially coming from Kozina. But that's why they did it. So there are a lot of Carmens that have no business existing. Oh, Stravinsky, Rite of Springs, Symphonies of Wind Instruments, and Apollo. Horrid. Absolutely horrid. I mean, the Rite of Spring is as limp-wristed and unpunchy as you can imagine. The Symphonies of Wind Instruments just doesn't have any sharpness or edge. And Apollo, oh my God. I always thought Karyon's was the most mucoidal, oleaginous performance of that you could ever imagine. Well, this is worse because it's slower. It's deadly. It's like 5 or 6 minutes slower than Robert Kraft, who really knew how to play this music. No. Very, very bad. But we end on a high note with Rachmaninoff, the bells and symphonic dances. Now, you may recall that Rattle did a symphonic dances as one of his very, very first recordings for EMI, and it was an early digital recording, and it was interestingly slow, but very powerful and impressive and dark. It was a good performance. And this is also an excellent performance, and the bells is splendid. I mean, they all just go to town on it. It's a live recording of the bells. Really, really first rate, exciting, and they're both pretty well recorded. And yeah, I mean, it was a great way to end, on an up note, because most of this stuff just sucks. And I think that my appraisal of this, like I said, you can see all the at-length reviews on classicstoday.com, disc by disc, or almost all of these. But I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I really do, because, I give credit where credit's due. There's some absolutely, if I can put this away. This is exciting. Ready? Here we go. I give him credit where credit's due. I think there's some first-rate things here. But the majority of it is très médiocre, as they say en français. Just uninteresting, unnecessary, not special. In no way conveying the sense of occasion that so many of these big works require. You don't need this. You really don't need this. I mean, if you want to get those 2 or 3 or 4 really good things, look for them separately. Don't waste your money. Yeah, I mean, it's really just, what can I say? So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.